Hey everybody, welcome to your horoscopes for this week. These are the horoscopes for the week ending September 24th, 2016. We've got a Mercury retrograde ending this week. We've got the autumnal equinox happening this week. And of course, if there is an equinox, that means that the sign is changing. And it is Libra time starting this week. So we got a lot of stuff going on and we're going to get right to it. And we're going to start as we always do with Aries. This week as Uranus continues for a few more days in that opposition with Venus, you may feel your creativity being a bit stifled. And this energy that's stifling your creativity is coming very much from those that are closest and in your most intimate circle. Now, most of the time we're talking about family and specifically people living in the home. And most people try to balance their responsibilities to their families and to themselves and to their careers and to their goals and their dreams all on one plate, which unfortunately some sides of or some parts of life have a tendency to get a little bit heavier and take over more of the plate than others. When your own creativity is stifled because of those responsibilities, it can be a real problem. But the good news is that Uranus is in trine with Mars, your ruling planet, and your ruling planet is coming in to help you out and to remind you of why this is happening to you. If you feel that every time you sit down and you can't seem to focus or you can't seem to allow that creativity to flow because you're so busy focused on all of the distractions going on around you, the universe might be trying to tell you something. Maybe it's not so much focusing on what you can do, it's focusing on the source of the inspiration. And of course, the source of the inspiration is you. You are that source. So really, this isn't about your inability to be able to be creative. It really is the universe letting you know that maybe you need to take some time for you instead of focusing on your creativity. That way, as you're trying to build on something, you're not trying to force it to happen, you're allowing it to flow. And of course, when you allow things to flow in the way that they're supposed to flow, they flow a lot better. So you guys have a great week with that. Taurus, the moon comes into your sign Monday and Tuesday, creating a big, beautiful, grand earth trine and a grand sextile as the moon lines up with Neptune, Pluto, and Mercury. Now, all of these planets are retrograde, of course, with the exception of the moon. And retrograde planets, of course, are teaching us to reflect back on ourselves. That's what retrograde planets do. And that's why retrogrades are so difficult to get through sometimes, especially Mercury retrogrades. We're actually reflecting that communication energy back on ourselves rather than looking at a situation and saying, if that person would only communicate differently, I wouldn't get so upset. Mercury's retrograde says, turn that around. Instead of accusing this person of making you upset, you need to look inside to find out why it's making you upset. Now this week, of course, as the moon shines this energy on all these planets right before Mercury's retrograde ends, it's actually giving you an absolutely fantastic opportunity to really take stock in some of these situations, specifically situations that just don't seem to change. And we're talking about situations and relationships here. But while you're doing an inventory of these situations or relationships, trying to figure out why they don't seem to change, the inventory really is on your reaction to the situation. Not necessarily how can you get so-and-so to change how they do things. Now see, that's a trap that we human beings get ourselves into that never, ever, ever works. We have control over ourselves. We have control over our perception. We have control over whether or not we are going to face a situation and allow our emotions to react or allow ourselves, make sure that we're in the driver's seat with this. So this week, as these planets are all lining up, the moon, of course, is lining up in very positive aspects, even though they might be a little bit difficult. There's a lot of very wise counsel for these planets to be giving you at this time. Monday and Tuesday is the peak of it, and then you start to see the results of it through the rest of the week. So this week, be brave and be bold and really look at these situations honestly. Where is it that you are afraid to make a change in these situations or relationships? And where can you Be brave enough to make that change. You guys have a great week with that. Gemini, as the moon moves into your sign Wednesday and Thursday, she moves into mutable Grand Cross as she moves into opposition with Saturn and squares herself with Mercury and Neptune. Now, luckily, this is the last mutable Grand Cross that you guys are going to have to deal with for a long time, which is really, really good news when you think about it. But during this time, it is going to cause a really major challenge, especially within the construction of some of your relationships. But at the same time, the sun's trine with the moon at this time is really showcasing some very positive energy coming out of your professional relationships. So as we're looking at this mutable Grand Cross and we're looking at difficulties in relationships, we're defining it's not professional relationships because things seem to be running very smoothly. In fact, there's ample opportunities this week to really come together with those people and make something amazing happen. The problem is you're so excited about this amazement that happens, you go to one of your other relationships to share the exciting news, and they just really don't seem to care. And that is the issue that we're talking about. It seems like they don't care, but the truth is we don't know their situation now, do we? They may have had a really bad day up until now. They might have something on their mind and they just can't focus on it. There's 1,000 different reasons. It may not necessarily be that this person just doesn't want you to be happy. Unfortunately, emotionally, we all go there. So luckily, this is just one day where we really have to work on this. And what you want to do for that day is to use this to your advantage. When you come up to a situation like that, don't read so deep into it. Don't take such a heavy offense to it, because the truth is it may be something that's going to blow over and they're going to feel bad about it later. Now, if this is one of those relationships where this happens a lot, then this situation is trying to teach you something a little bit different. Really defining the truth and honesty in this relationship and giving you a bit of gusto and a bit of power to really make some changes in this relationship. So this week, yes, of course, there's going to be challenges. When are there not challenges? It just doesn't happen. But these are challenges that you can easily work through just by being the Gemini that you are. So you guys have a great week with that. Cancer, the moon coming into your sign at the end of the week is going to move into T-squared position, unfortunately, with Pluto, Jupiter, and the Sun, which is going to create a bit of a challenge, especially if you are planning a project and you're waiting for other people to get on the ball on their part of the project, and they just don't seem to be giving it the proper amount of importance, or at least the amount of importance that you're giving it. Now, the good news, though, is that the moon's trine with Neptune is really, really trying to help you through this situation and really focusing on the best way to overcome this situation. And it's really pointing to your thoughts, how you're thinking about the situation. Now, Neptune is all about intuition, and Neptune's retrograde position makes intuition very, very, very strong. So when you're talking about your thoughts, if you are getting frustrated over what everybody else is doing, obviously that frustration is really blocking your intuitive thought process. And if you're blocking your intuitive thought process, it's really difficult to find a solution. This week, when this situation comes up, and you know it's come up before, this is not something you've never dealt with before, instead of being frustrated and allowing that frustration to really take over, and when I say take over, it's in your thoughts, it's in your head, you can't stop thinking about it, you can't stop talking about it, telling everybody about it, all of these different things. You have to get past that frustration. Just pick it up and move it aside for just a second. Trust me on this, okay? And then allow your intuitive thought process to come through. The truth is, this lesson may be teaching you that it's time to stop waiting on other people to do what you want to do and start doing some of these things by yourself. Because the truth is, the one person you can count on more than anybody is you. End of story, period. And that's what it's all about. So you guys have a great week with that. Leo, this week you may be finding that you have a lot of goals and you have a lot of plans, but you have a lot of lack of money to get anything done. And that is frustrating. In fact, it's a frustration that most of the people on this planet have to live with on a regular basis. Therefore, it's also the number one excuse why people don't follow through with their dreams and their plans. This week, it's really time to take a look at this situation, this money situation, okay? First of all, you could make more money. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have more money. Money is one of those things where, you know, as you wind up raising your standard of living to how much money you make. And you have to be really good at budgeting your money. Now, that's good if you are really good at it, but if you're not really good at it, what is there to do? Well, this week it's time for you to really take a look at that money excuse. Let's think about this for just a minute. If you were independently wealthy and you had unlimited amounts of money, would you actually achieve these goals? Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. Most people would say absolutely, because there's nothing holding me back. There's always something that can be used as an excuse to hold you back. If it's not money, it is something else. You will find a way. So this week, it's time for you to really take a look at this money problem when it comes to your plans. Are you using the money as an excuse, and this is why you're not going any farther? Or are you going to stop letting money hold you back and do what you can with what you can? Because the truth is, the most successful people out there, that's exactly what they did. They did not wait around until the lottery dumped a box full of money on their porch so that they could become famous doing whatever it is that they're doing. They worked their buns off, and they literally were down on the bottom, and they raised themselves up. And that is exactly what you have to do. So you guys have a great week with that. Virgo, happy birthday to all the Virgos born this last few days of the week, especially a beautiful little girl that drummer Dave and I had the pleasure of knowing for the last few years, I should say. Her name is Madeline. She's our niece, and she's having a birthday. She's actually an equinox baby. Her birthday is right smack in the middle of Virgo and Libra, so she's a little bit of both, but she's a whole lot of amazing. I hope you have a wonderful birthday, Maddie, and you're absolutely spoiled rotten, because you know what? Being the only girl in our little extended family, you should be spoiled rotten. You're the only one. And I hope you have a great day, Maddie. For all of you other Virgos out there, this week is the last week of Mercury's T-square with Neptune and Saturn, which is a wonderful thing, but of course, it's going to go out with a bang as the moon moves into position to make this immutable Grand Cross on Wednesday and Wednesday only. But the good news is that Mercury is moving direct at about that time. And of course, we're going to be moving, the sun is moving from Virgo to Libra early on this week. So the good news is these planets are definitely moving in a way so that they're moving out of this T-square position and won't have that mutable Grand Cross position for a while. Now, Mercury is spending his last week in direct motion after the 22nd in this T-square. And as we get up to the mutable Grand Cross and then move back down to the T-square again, it is really going to feel like you are absolutely done with this chaotic energy. You cannot take another thing that life is throwing at you right now. And everybody goes through that, and that is okay. It is actually okay for you to have a mini meltdown if you want to. It's okay for you to bang your fists on the table and shout and be angry. Whatever, just don't live there. The light is at the end of the tunnel, and Mercury's aspects with the moon and Neptune throughout the week are really showing you that light at the end of the tunnel, reminding you to keep a positive outlook through all of the craziness, because a positive outlook doesn't fix everything. It's not the fix-all for everything, but it sure as hell is the difference between settling because you need to settle or waiting because you're waiting for what you deserve, and you know what you deserve. And that is what Virgos do. They know what they deserve, and they wait for it. So this week, do whatever you got to do to get through this chaos, because next week, it's all gravy from there. You guys have a great week with that. Libra, happy birthday Libra. The sun moves into Libra this week, so happy birthday to all of the Libras born this week. Now, Venus has been in Libra and is spending her last few days this week actually in Libra, and she's spending them in opposition with Uranus, which is going to cause a bit of an issue, especially in terms of what it is that you're doing at work. It creates a little bit of chaos, and it stifles your creativity or your ability to actually fix things that need to be fixed because they're broken, which, by the way, is the Libra way, is it not? If something's broken, fix it. And there's 1,000 different ways to fix it, but it needs to be fixed. That's the whole point. When you're in a situation like this, especially these situations where you don't really have control over it, or you're waiting on somebody else's say or okay for you to fix it, it's very difficult because you know this needs to be fixed, but other people don't seem to really care if it needs to be fixed or not. And just leave it there. It's no big deal. Now, for a Libra, this is frustrating. But the good news is, as Venus is spending her final days in your sign towards the end of the week, she's going to move into a very positive aspect with Mars. And this particular aspect, Venus and Mars coming together, creates this beautiful balance, which, of course, Libras love, right? Love the balance. Bringing those scales back to where they're about equal and reminding you that the frustration that you're feeling right now can either make or break you. If you allow it to take over your actions, it's going to break you. Use this frustration to your advantage. Use this frustration to make a change. And above all, use this frustration to really understand on a deep level what it is that you want to do. The truth is, some situations get really, really frustrating towards the end because it's trying to force you out of the situation and into your next adventure. And if you happen to be resistant at all, it's going to be very difficult for you. So this week, don't be resistant. Be open to the change. And where you feel like things are just not working out the way that they should be, maybe it's time to evaluate the situation in a different way. And the truth is Libra time. The sun is in your sign. Jupiter is in your sign. It's all about growth. It's all about expansion. It's all about being exactly what you want to be. And any kind of fear-based anything, any kind of over-emotion or anything like that is only going to stand in your way. So you guys have a great week with that. Scorpio, Venus moves into your sign this week, and as she moves into your sign, she's opposite Uranus, giving you a bit of a problem when it feels like people are only there for you if you can do something for them. Now, this is a crummy and a really shitty way to feel for anybody. I mean, you know, nobody likes to be in this situation. Scorpios especially find this a very difficult situation. Any water sign would, because they take it so deeply. And this is, unfortunately, a lot of times it's a trap that a lot of people get into. Well, this week, as Venus moves into a sextile with Mars, she's actually bringing you a very good masculine-feminine balance, and she's providing a lesson in this particular circumstance. Of course, if people are only going to be there for you because you can do something for them, it's also bringing you or shedding some light on something that needs to be fixed within you. And that thing that needs to be fixed within you is needing that support in the first place. If you can't support yourself, then you're going to have a problem, because looking for that support externally lets you down every single time. And I mean every single time. It works out a little bit here and there, or a few times every once in a great while, but ultimately you get let down over and over and over again, and then you're made to feel that nobody cares about you. You don't want to keep yourself in this situation, and it is 100% in your control. This week, it's time to take a look within. Where is it inside of you somewhere where you feel you need to have somebody give you praise for something that you're doing, or just be there to support you? Sometimes you need to do this completely on your own in order to really grow the way that you're supposed to. And that means by getting the guidance from within, not from other people. And this is exactly why the universe puts you in this situation, so that you can have that alone time, that hermit time, to really understand and grow. So this week, even though things may seem a little bit sticky, even though it seems like maybe you're out there shouting for help and all you hear is cricket, go within. Because going within, doing a little bit of a meditation, helps connect you with your guides, your angels, and more importantly, your inner self. And once you are comfortable with yourself as a whole, those types of friendships just aren't worth it anymore. So you guys have a great week with that. Sagittarius, Saturn continues to be in that T-square with Mercury and Neptune this week. And in the middle of the week, when the moon moves opposite from Saturn, this becomes a mutable grand cross, which of course is no fun at all for anybody. This mutable grand cross energy is going to make you feel like you're being pulled in 1,000 different directions. And of course, some of those directions are things that you want to do, and some of those directions are things that everybody else wants you to do. And it's really frustrating because you can only take that so long before you just snap on everybody, right? Well, this week the good news is that Saturn's aspects with Venus and with the moon in other places this week really shine some light on how you can navigate through this situation. If you can't focus on something that you want to focus on, shift your focus to something else. Maybe doing some work in the house, or maybe doing some other work somewhere else. The key here is to give your frustration an outlet that's not a person, because of course you don't want to rip somebody's head off just because you're frustrated, right? So take some time to, to focus that energy somewhere else. And it doesn't have to be something mundane, although a lot of people really enjoy cleaning a house when they're angry. I know it helps me get some of my frustrated energy out. But there are 1,000 other things that you could be doing too. What you want to avoid as much as possible, of course, is anything destructive. You don't want to focus your energy on anything destructive, drugs, alcohol, especially alcohol, because the more you drink, the more angry you're going to get anyways. So this week, find an outlet, find something that you can focus your time on. Whether it's inside or outside is irrelevant. It's something that you either enjoy doing, semi-enjoy doing, or it's something that gives you something to focus on so that you can release that frustrated energy and come back feeling a bit more centered and grounded. So you guys have a great week with that. Capricorn, Pluto's very positive aspects with Mercury and Neptune this week become even more positive as Mercury moves direct on the 22nd, which is perfect timing because up until that point, it has been really frustrating when you feel like you're trying to explain what you want to do to people and they just don't seem to understand what it is that you're saying. I mean, it's like, are you talking Chinese or something? In an English world, it's very frustrating when things like this happen. But these positive aspects, of course, are reminding you to slow down and, reminding you that maybe it's the way you're communicating it. Maybe you need to slow down your communication a little bit. Sometimes it has everything to do with the fact that you're talking as quickly as you're thinking. And sometimes that can be a little difficult for other people who don't think along the same lines to keep up. Now, when the moon moves opposite of Pluto towards the end of the week, it is going to seem very challenging, especially around your financial situation. When it seems that your financial situation is strained or in danger for a Capricorn, that is a big, oh my God, moment. So, of course, you're going to want to panic. But I guarantee you don't want to panic because this is a very temporary situation. No need to panic. And trust me, it's not as big as it looks, okay? That's really what you need to know. It's not as big of a problem as it looks like. So don't let take over the rest of your week because the truth is you don't need to do that. You're a Capricorn, and Capricorns are good at making sure that they take care of things and get the work done. That's what your job is. Don't worry about things that may or may not happen. That's not what your job is. So you guys have a great week with that. Aquarius, when situations from the past keep popping up in your head, it's time to find out why. Now, for most Aquarians, this is not something that they would choose to do on any day of the week. And even though they do sometimes understand the importance of doing this, they'll put it off indefinitely. you know, it's one of those I'll take care of that tomorrow things, and tomorrow just never seems to happen. But this week, if this situation keeps coming up, or you keep going back to a particular time in the past around this situation, it's important to really take a look at it, of course. You cannot get over the situation without spending some time with it. And the truth is that most things that happen in the past that we have very strong feelings for, these would be those things that make us emotional and cry, and things that, you know, Aquarians don't like to do necessarily, and that's why we avoid it. But these situations, of course, when they happen to us, we hold on to the feeling. We hold on to what it felt like when it happened. And we go 20, 30, 40 years still feeling that same way every single time we think about it. But understanding the situation for what it is helps us to step out of how we feel about it and let that feeling go. So if somebody hurt us at one time and we're angry about it, we can hold on to that anger for 30, 40 years, but it's only hurting us. Whereas if we take a look at the situation and understand it from both sides, it makes it a little bit easier to let go of that anger and not be so angry anymore. Think that it's impossible, think again. Trust me, there are many of those situations that I've been able to let go of that anger and frustration that I've had over that particular past experience, and some that I have not, to be honest with you. But that is my own personal choice. So this week, it really is a great idea to make your own personal choice, to really take a look at this situation. Again, if it keeps coming up, there's a reason. The universe is telling you it's time for you to address this issue. And it's okay if you're not ready. It'll come back later when you might be ready. So you guys have a great week with that. And finally, Pisces. Neptune continues at T-square with Saturn and Mercury for one more week, and then next week it is gone, I assure you. But of course, it's not going to leave without a fight, especially in the middle of the week as the moon moves square with Neptune, making this a mutable Grand Cross. Now, of course, we're moving up to this mutable Grand Cross right around the time that Mercury moves direct. So things are actually really going to start moving for you, which is really good. But because the challenge is right now, it just seems that there are so many of them, you simply can't face them. Well, this week it's really time to understand why you feel that way. It's not so much the challenges that are creating the feeling. You own that feeling, and it's up to you to understand why you feel that way. Now, as Mercury does move direct in about around the middle of the week, which is about the time the mutable Grand Cross happens, after that, it becomes clear that people start to understand what it is that you're saying. Whereas last week, nobody had a clue what it was that you were talking about. It kind of happens like magic, which is a really cool thing. And of course, Neptune's aspects with Pluto all week long are really showing you these old patterns, where you go, your thought process that you go to every single time in your mind, how you react to the situation every single time. Basically, we're talking about bad habits that need to be broken. And by outlining these bad habits, we're not beating you up, says the universe. We're not beating you up for failing. We're trying to help you understand so that you can change that, because that, my friends, you do have control over. So this week, it's time to wrap up all of those challenges and really focus your energy on how you can overcome them, or at least understand them, because next week things are going to start to run a little bit smoother. So you guys have a great week with that. Thanks so much for watching the horoscopes this week. I'm Melissa Bruce, the Heavy Metal Psychic. Don't forget, the 2017 13-card tarot prediction is available and ready. All you got to do is email me at afairymothersdream@gmail.com, or of course hit me up on my website, heavymetalpsychic.com. Again, I'm Melissa Bruce, the Heavy Metal Psychic. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great week. I'll see you guys next week.